Hey, Nick Wingate here. On today's workshop, we're going to speak and why there are so dadgum many different ones. And why do we need to sit down and have a particular amplifier for a particular reason? We're going to go over that. And I think by the time that we're done with this, you're going to have a better idea just exactly why there are so many different types of amplifiers out there. Taking a look at the different types of amplifiers there are out there and how many there are. I've taken the time to try and break this down to basically four different sections. We're going to talk about, what's best for you. And when you get through listening to what we're going to talk about, I think you're going to have a way better understanding of, which type of amplifier, it's what size, how many channels, do we need a DSP? Do I not need a DSP? Do I need to have it integrated into the amplifier? We're going to discuss all of that. And I hope you stick around because I think you're going to learn a heck of a lot. Part one, classifications. So we're talking about Class A, Class AB, or Class D. Those are the three main ones you're going to find in car audio today. Class A, this is for the pure audiophile who wants an absolute best for your mid ranges and your high frequency drivers. Now, basically, I don't want to get into what makes Class A Class A. I don't want to do that. But basically, what happens is a Class A amplifier is what is known as constantly on. And in the realm of audiophile world, which is where I live, when you're looking for extreme resolution, you're looking for extreme depth, width, height, three dimensionality of instruments. This is one of the amplifier topologies you may want to take a look at, such as Ultra A2 amplifier from Ground Zero. Yeah, we're talking an amplifier that runs damn near pure Class A. And there's a reason why it's at the top of my list as far as amplifiers that I love. It gives you everything you're looking for if this is your cup of tea. If this is what you're looking for in your system, these types of the abilities that the amplifiers can reproduce the music for you, this is something you need to look at is a Class A amp. If it's not, but you don't need it at that level. Let's just say that you're thinking about actually competing in Emma, or you're listening to classical music and jazz, and you listen to high resolution music. Yeah, Class A is something you want to look at probably for your mid ranges and tweeters. But if you want just a lot of that, but you don't need it at that level, then Class AB is something you need to take a very long, hard look at as well. Basically, it's a different type of topology. It's a different type of circuit design. It gives you a lot of what Class A does, but Class AB will also play bass extremely well, where Class A does not like frequencies below 150 hertz. Class AB does. Class AB will play all the way down to whatever the amplifier is designed to play to, 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, let's just say. And it does, most of these designs do it extremely well. Plutonium amplifiers in ground zero, uranium amplifiers in ground zero, they do this exceptionally well. They are all Class AB designs. So if you're looking for a great all-around sounding amplifier that is going to get you 80-85% of what a Class A amp does, plus you want to have some bass and some control, that's the amplifier you need to take a long, hard look at. When it comes to footprint size, and we need to take into account real estate, this is where Class D comes into play. Class D is a different type of design. It's based off of small chips that are power chips, and they're designed to work basically like a Class AB or Class A, but they are extremely more efficient. They don't take up near as much room because they're way smaller, and they don't produce near as much heat. Now, those of us who are in the audiophile side of things will tell you that Class D traditionally has not been our cup of tea. Now, it's not to say that they aren't getting better, and Class D has gotten substantially better in the last 5 years, and they're getting closer in the designs where we get close to Class A and Class AB sound. They're not quite there yet, but when you take into a size, when you take into account number of different channels available in Class A, B, and excuse me, in Class D. This is normally where you find 6 channels, 8 channels, sometimes 12 channels, even 16 channel amplifiers are out there. So you have to take a long, hard look and say, okay, if real estate is something I have to worry about, and I'm not needing the absolute, very, very best in resolution, then Class D is something you really should take a very long, hard look at. The next part about this I want to talk about is realistic power ratings. Um, there are an awful lot of amplifiers out there that say they are quote unquote 5,000 watts unquote, and they're rating them at, let's say, 4 ohms. Now, do they do that? Well, they may for a split second at 1,000 hertz, how they're testing it. But is it realistically going to produce 5,000 watts continuous amounts of power for an hour? And the answer to that is no. Now, there are amplifiers that can, and absolutely. And I think this is where you have to take 2 steps back and you have to start thinking, okay, if it says it does this, is it built by a reputable company that has sound engineering and has, you know, they've got lineage? And we all know who those companies are. Ground Zero is one of them. I mean, we've been building amplifiers for over 30 years. They kind of know what they're doing. Uh, and that is something that has been a pet peeve of mine, is that so many people who want to get into this hobby, they look at power ratings and they don't take into account anything else. Well, that's not what you should be doing. Power's part of it. But you also have to think about longevity. You have to think about how well is the circuit designed? Who designed this? What's the research and development behind it? Is there a reputable company behind this? What kind of warranty does it have? Those are things you have to take into consideration when you are looking at an amplifier. Don't just look at the power ratings behind it, because quite frankly, it can be extremely misleading. So when it comes to design of amplifiers, there's a lot of different ways of designing an amplifier. Over on the home side, they've got tubes and you're being used in amplification, preamplification. And there's an awful lot of people that love them. I'm one of them. I love tube sound. On the home side, they've got monster Class A amplifiers that produce 600 freaking watts of Class A. Yeah, and they're extremely expensive, and they weigh 600 pounds apiece, and they pull tremendous amount of current from your service outlet. And yeah, go outside and watch your meter spin. That amp turns on. So we don't want something like that in car audio, because quite frankly, we can't handle it. Tubes is a disaster. We just can't do it. Now, having said that, it's not saying that we can't build something in car audio that sounds amazing. And that's when it comes down to design. That's when it comes down to parts. That's when it comes down to, do you know what you're doing? This is when you have to do some research. You know, do a little bit of research online. You'll see schematics, you'll see designs, you'll see pictures. Uh, Go look at the amplifiers that you're looking at. See if they've got pictures. If they're a good company, they probably will. If it's a reputable company, they probably do. And you look, and a well-made amplifier is going to be, minimalist parts. That's my own personal philosophy, is, the least amount of parts used in an amplifier, the lowest amount of problems we might run into. Because let's face it, if there's 25,845 parts in an amp, the signal's got to go through that many parts to go from the input to the output. How many phase shifts are going to take place, and how many different types of issues are we going to run into? You got issue. You may run into them. Um, Take a look at capacitors, resistors, inductors. Look at the output devices. Do a little bit of research. Find the companies out there, again, that are reputable. And when we're talking capacitors, we're looking at, are they using Elna or Nichicon or Panasonic? Is 105 degrees centigrade rated capacitors from Japan? If they are, This is probably a well-designed amplifier that somebody cares about. If it's using Joe Schmo stuff out of China, it may be there and it may be well and it may be designed good, but what's the longevity of it? Because, folks, I will tell you right now, capacitors are the first thing to go in amps because of the heat. And all amplifiers produce heat. And unless you have a really, really well-designed capacitor on that board, you may end up with having an amplifier that has a very low shelf life of being able to play in your system for maybe less than a year. You take a look at output devices. There's a lot of them out there from a lot of great companies. You can look for some from Toshiba. You look at some from Motorola. You can see some from Sanken. Maybe you'll find some that are known as a TO3, which is a different type of product. See what type of circuit design they're using, if it's a MOSFET or if it's a TO3. And I'm not going to go into the idiosyncrasy of it. You go ahead and look that up yourself. But I will tell you that when it comes to circuit design, when it comes to board design, when it comes to layout, there are people out there who have been doing it for 30 years. There's companies that have been doing it for 30 and 40 years. Go seek them out. Go look for them. And there's a reason why they're still in business. It's because they build a quality product. And I can assure you, Ground Zero is one of those companies. When it comes to features of amplifiers, obviously the big feature is, yeah, we're going to take a signal and we're going to amplify it and we're going to send it signal out to the speakers. Yeah, okay, we all get that. But then you have to start thinking about, okay, what do I have to have in this amplifier or on this amplifier in order for it to be what I need to make my system work? For instance, crossovers. If you're not going to be using a DSP externally or internally for that matter of fact, you wanting to run something fully active, or you need at the very least a high pass or a low pass for the subwoofer, the high pass for the mid bass, then the amplifier has to have crossovers built into it. Take a long, hard look. Make sure that the amp has what you need to make your system work. That's a big one. Number two is I have always found that you need to have an amplifier that has the ability to give you a subsonic filter for your subwoofer, especially if you have a sub that has a vented enclosure and has a tuned, it's tuned to a certain frequency. You always want to make sure that you turn that subsonic filter on 5 hertz below the tuning frequency of the subwoofer enclosure. And why is that? Well, just take my word for it. But it unloads. This is what happens. And when it unloads, the amplifier has a tendency to freak out, and it has a tendency to tell the subwoofer it's not doing what it should be doing, and the sub reacts violently, and you may lose the sub and or amplifier. So this is an important one to think about. The other one to think about is, do we have control over the amplifier's individual channels, like on 4-channel amps? Make sure that there's a potentiometer that can control the gain on channels 1 and 2 and the gain on channels 3 and 4. Some amplifiers, there may be 4 gains there for each individual channel. That's up to the design engineer. That's something to take into consideration as well. Bias control, that's a big one for me now that I've experienced it with Ground Zero. They've got bias controls on a lot of their amplifiers, and you can dial in how much Class A sound you want or how little Class A sound you want. It helps tremendously with tailor making the amplifier to give you the type of sound you're looking for. How many channels do we need? You need a very large multi-channel amplifier, and by very large, I mean channels. There's a lot of 6 channels out there. There are 8 channels out there. Yeah, do you need that many channels? And if so, do you need separate amplifiers, or can all-in-one work for you? This is something to consider. Do you need a DSP built into them? I know that this is a big one, and I know a lot of us in the industry are very happy to see that in a lot of cases we're seeing DSP processors, including built into the amplifiers. And that's a really good thing because, quite frankly, you don't have to run RCAs between your external DSP to the amplifier. That saves on that. It shortens the circuit design. It shortens the signal path. It makes things easier. Do you need one? Are you going fully active? If you are, then yes, you're probably going to need one. So these are just a few of the different types of properties to look for when you're thinking about features on an amplifier. The last one I would think about is if you need a remote volume control for the sub and or the entire system. I know a lot of amplifiers out there have this. Most of the ground zeros do have that option to be added into them. But if it's something you need, make sure that they have that capability. And it may come with the amp and it may not. It may be an option. But make sure that if this is what you need, that the amplifier has that capability of having a remote plugged into it. So these are just a few of what I look for and what I think you should look for when it comes to options and features on an amplifier. So I hope in this particular instance, you've learned a little bit about what to look for in an amplifier. Look for how they're built, whether what type of class amp you need, what type of features you need. Do we need a DSP built into it, or do we not? Uh, these are things you need to take into consideration. And I hope you've learned a little bit about what to look for. I think if you will just take your time and think things through, talk to your friends, if they're learned. Sometimes they're not. I think you'll make a very good decision, and I hope I was a part of that decision making process. I hope you learned a lot. So, if you would like to learn a little bit more about what is available with Ground Zero, please take a look over at groundzero.usa.com. I think you'll find an awful lot over there. It's informative. You'll find a ton of information on the type of amplifiers we have. And I know there are amplifiers that we have that will make you very happy. We got a lot of them. So till next time, this is Nick Wingate with Ground Zero.